Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Today my group will present about a movie review called The Ron Clark movie. First, let me briefly explain what will be covered in our movie review. First part is the introduction, where we provide a brief overview of the movie, including its background, main theme story, and the storyline. Next, the objective section explains the purpose of the movie review, which is to analyze of the educational psychology element portrayed in the film. And the third part is methodology section, describe how we conduct our reviews, such as observing key scenes section of the theory and analyzing the character behavior. In the analysis section, we discuss the important scene that related to the relevant theories, especially in education and psychology. And finally, the summary highlight the main point of our review and the overall message that we learned from the Ron Clark movie. The Ron Clark Story is a 2006 American television film starring Matthew Perry, and the film is based on the educator Ron Clark, who left his hometown to teach in an inner city in New York. The film highlighted the challenge faced by teachers working in the students who have low motivation, behavioral issues, and weak academic performance. Throughout the film, the learning environment shifts from being disruptive and engaged to become a supportive, structured, and motivating as Clark apply creative and teaching strategy. In relation to the teaching-learning process, the film demonstrates how various learning theories are applied in authentic psychological concepts, discuss behaviorism, constructivism, motivation reinforcement, self-efficacy, and method of managing classroom behavior, as portrayed through different scenes in the film.
The primary purpose of this assignment is to strengthen the student understanding of the practical application of educational psychology principles in real-life context through a cinematic medium. By selecting the film The Ron Clark Story as the subject of the study, this assignment aims to train the students' critical thinking skills in interpreting film narratives and relating them to academic theories learned throughout the course. More specifically, the objective of this assignment are to analyze educational psychology concepts, is to explain and analyze the application of educational psychology concepts discussed throughout the course. Second is to evaluate teaching dynamics, to examine how changes in a teacher's cognitive framework and mindset can influence the quality of interpersonal relationships and the effectiveness of pedagogy in the classroom. Third and the last is the link theory and reality, to demonstrate that abstract concepts within the course syllabus are not merely academic theories but essential tools used by educators to understand human behavior and the human psyche in a holistic manner.
For methodology part, the analysis of educational practice and psychological behaviors in the film The Ron Clark Story was conducted using a qualitative approach, focusing on thematic observation and group collaborative interpretation. First, for thematic observation, each of group members watched the film for a few times to ensure a deep familiarity with the narrative arc and the specific pedagogical challenge faced by the protagonists. The initial watching allowed the group members to establish a general context of the Harlem school environment, while subsequent watchings were focused specifically on identifying critical incidents. During these targeted sessions, we paused the film to document specific actions, dialogues, and transformation that appeared to be rooted in established psychological principles. For the second approach, we use group collaborative interpretation. The group members engage in a series of structured discussions to interpret the data collected. These discussions serve as a platform for peer validation, where we debate which educational theories such as behaviorism, social learning, or humanistic approach that best explain Mr. Clark's interventions and the student behavioral shift. By comparing individual notes, we were able to reach a consensus on the most significant things that demonstrated clearly between theory and practice.
So the first scene that we're gonna analyze is when Ron drinks chocolate milk. Every time Julia bangs the jar to make sure students listen and quiet. The place is in classroom, time 39 minutes. Here you can see in the script, Ron asks Julia to bang the jar if everyone quiet and listen. When Alita talks, the 50 seconds start over. After that, the classroom quiet and Ron keeps drinking until the next scene. So here Ron applies the operant conditioning theory in this scene. Operant conditioning was developed by B.F. Skinner. According to the operant conditioning theory, people tend to repeat a behavior when it leads to an enjoyable result. However, when the result of the action is unpleasant, people tend to avoid the action. Ron gives the class a reward of watching him consume chocolate milk and maybe vomit. This applies the positive reinforcement technique since Ron adds on element of entertainment for the kids when they exhibit favorable behaviors such as being quiet and listening. Even though the reward was nasty, smelling and unpleasant, had the puking happened, the kids still enjoyed this reward. This technique also affects how the students relate to each other. When Alita interrupts, the other immediately warn her to shut up. They do not want Alita to ruin their own chances of winning the prize, which is seeing the teacher puke. In this context, there is positive social reinforcement where people adjust their behavior according to the approval or disapproval of others. In this situation, peer pressure serves to regulate the class more effectively than Ron. The students are not only listening to a teacher but making sure others are quiet and listen. Ron also incorporates a time reinforcement schedule by drinking the chocolate milk every 15 seconds. This keeps the students alert and consciously aware because they know that the reward will be there shortly. With short times to wait, excitement and anticipation build, this helps them to keep quiet more easily. This evidence how reinforcement schedules can be sincerely applied to maintaining attention and sustained behavior. However, this method mainly creates extrinsic motivation, and this is exactly why they themselves do not have any interest in grammar. They have more interest in getting a reward for seeing the teacher puking after drinking so much chocolate milk. But one thing about extrinsic motivation is that it will last for a very short time. As long as the reward goes on, such motivation will be ongoing, but if Ron decides to withdraw such motivation, there are high chances that the children might turn out to be noisy with no interest at all in getting lessons. To conclude, Ron's methods is effective in the short term and successfully controls the classroom for a moment, but it does not help students develop a genuine interest in learning. Instead, it makes them to focus more on the reward than on the lesson itself, which can be bad to their long-term learning and understanding.
The second scene that we need to analyze, which is the scene that Ron used reward for motivating his student, which take place in classroom and the time is 15:57. According to the script below, which is Ron using a jar of candy and make it as a reward for the student to becoming more excited in the upcoming exam. In this scene, Ron gives the student their test paper and respond with a verbal phrases such as "good job," "well done," and give a smile that makes the student motivated to learn more. In this scene, it can be concluded that Ron has applied behaviorism theories, which is positive reinforcement. Based off B.F. Skinner, positive reinforcement occurs when it involves the addition of a reinforcement stimulus following a behavior that makes it more likely to happen again in the future. That particular response or behavior will be standard again. The students smile, laugh, and respond positively, showing that felt appreciated and motivated to keep learning more, as they see that they are capable of a success. It helps create a safe learning environment whereas the students are not afraid of making mistakes more and keep trying in the future. In addition, the candy reward also demonstrates how extrinsic motivation can successfully encourage students to participate and engage in learning. Can be tangible, such as money or grade, of intangible such as praise or fame. Unlike intrinsic motivation, which arises from the individual, intrinsic motivation focuses purely on outside reward. People who are extrinsically motivated will continue to perform a task even though it might not be in and or it self-rewarding. By external reward, Ron Clark activated students who are previously unmotivated and help them develop positive attitude toward effort and achievement, when it gradually leads students toward intrinsic motivation and self-driven learning. This scene shows the use of extrinsic motivation, which students are motivated to pass the test and show good behavior because they expect a reward, demonstrating how external reinforcement influence learning behavior.
Hi, my name is Sharina. So now let's look at the third scene. So in this scene, Mr. Clark teaches his students the name of all 42 US presidents. At the beginning, the students react negatively. Then they groan, they look bored, and they show no interest because the task involves traditional memorization, which they find difficult and unmotivating. Instead of continuing with the same method, Mr. Clark changed his technique strategies. So he turns the lesson into a rap song and starts singing in front of the class. He adds rhythms, movement, clappings, and repetition and encourage students to join him. Slowly, the students begin to participate, sing along, and move together as a group. As the lesson continues, the classroom atmosphere completely changed and the students become more excited, engaged, and more confident. So they are able to remember the order of the presidents more easily and enjoy the learning process. So now let's move on to the theory explanation for this third scene. So in this scene, clearly demonstrate constructive learning theory. According to this theory, learning occurs when students actively construct knowledge through experience, practice, and social interaction rather than passively receiving information. Mr. Clark allows students to learn by doing, participating, and collaborating instead of memorizing facts silently. The lesson is scaffolded by connecting new information to music, movement, and repetition. Through peer interaction and active engagement, students can develop a deeper understanding of the content. And this scene also reflects Howard Gardner multiple intelligence theory, especially musical rhythmic intelligence. Gardner explained the students have different learning strengths. By using music and rhythm, Mr. Clark supports students who learn best through auditory and rhythmic patterns. As a result, students who struggle with traditional memorization are able to succeed. So now let's move on to the next scene. So in this scene, Mr. Clark stands beside his students just before an important test. So the students appear nervous, anxious, and unsure of themselves. At this critical moment, Mr. Clark delivers a powerful and inspiring speech. He reminds the students of their hard work, effort, and progress throughout the year. He encouraged them to believe in their abilities and assure them that they are capable of success. His calm and supportive words help to reduce students' fear and anxiety. After the speech, the students appear more confident and determined. They approach the test with a positive mindset and a strong sense of self-belief. Now let's see the theory explanation for this scene. So in this scene, demonstrate a Bandura self-efficacy theory. According to this theory, self-efficacy refers to a person's belief in their ability to succeed in a specific task. When a students believe they can succeed, so they are more motivated, persistent, and confident in facing challenges. By expressing faith in his students and reminding them of their past achievement, Mr. Clark strengthened their self-efficacy. This belief helps students to perform better and engage more fully with the task. The scene also reflects behaviorist theory, particularly in positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is involved strengthening desire behavior through encouragement and praise. Mr. Clark reinforced productive behavior by praising effort and framing the test as an opportunity rather than a threat. As a result, students show positive behaviors such as focusing, persisting, and trying their best.
This scene, theory applied is introduced by psychologist B.F. Skinner. Operant conditioning is a form of learning in which behavior is shaped by its consequences. Positive reinforcement occurs when a desirable stimulus is added after a behavior, increasing like the likelihood that the behavior will be repeated. What he did was Mr. Ron Clark involved parents in the award ceremony to praise and publicly acknowledge the students' achievement and new identities as high achiever. He provides symbolic gifts that represent their hard work and success. He referred that the barrier as a doctor, which served as a powerful form of positive reinforcement. The principal announced that the class tested higher than the honor class. What happened after using the theories? They developed confidence in their abilities, which strengthened the academic self-esteem, resilience when facing more challenging subjects, and linked academic effort toward the professional success. The other students are motivated to aim higher, realizing that exceptional effort leads to exceptional recognition. Students begin to support one another's success rather than engage in an unhealthy competition. This gradually develops into extrinsic motivation, where students study not only for rewards but also because they enjoy the feeling competent, respected, and successful. The Ron Clark Story is a heartwarming film about the perseverance of an educator, Ron Clark. He moved from his hometown to teach at a challenging urban school in New York. Most students initially struggle with the low motivation, behavioral problems, poor academic performance. This film shows how a teacher transforms from a chaotic classroom into a structured and supportive learning environment. This transformation is achieved by applying various learning theories and psychological concepts. Learning theories highlight in this film is positive reinforcement, extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, scaffolding, active construction of knowledge, musical rhythmic intelligence, and Bandura self-efficacy theories. These theories are essential because students have different learning abilities, motivation, learning styles. Combining these approaches enables students to manage classroom behavior effectively, motivate students to learn, support learning step by step, encourage active participation, and building student confidence. Overall message from the film demonstrate the importance of learning theories and educational psychology in teaching, help improve student academic achievement to compete with elite class, contribute to personal development, trust between teachers and students, also understanding student emotional and social needs.